What exactly is climate change and why do so few of today's politicians see eye to eye on it? According to Merriam-Webster, climate change can be defined as a change in the global or regional climate patterns, in particular a change apparent from the mid to late 20th century onwards and attributed largely to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. The debate concerning climate change originally started in 1859, around the time of the Industrial Revolution. British physicist John Tyndall first began experiments that year, leading to the discovery that CO2 in the atmosphere absorbs the sun's heat. However, it took over 100 years for scientists to gather enough evidence to come to a general consensus that the Earth's temperature is rising. Just as that began to happen, the election of Ronald Reagan in 1981 ushered in an era of backlash against the environmental movement, and skepticism about climate change was linked to conservatism. In December 1997, over 161 nations met in Kyoto, Japan, to negotiate a treaty to limit greenhouse gas emissions and work towards the objectives of the UNFCCC. The resulting Kyoto Protocol, signed by President Bill Clinton, set binding targets for 37 industrialized countries and the European Union to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 5% below 1990 levels by 2012. Al Gore's documentary An Inconvenient Truth premiered in 2006 and was seen by over 5 million people worldwide. The film argued that human-caused climate change was real and that without immediate reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, catastrophic climate changes would severely disrupt human societies, leading to a possible collapse of industrial civilization. The current debate focuses primarily on the discussion of whether global warming is caused by human behavior or natural processes. The debate falls very closely along party lines. A Gallup poll taken in 2013 found that 78% of Democrats and 39% of Republicans believe that global warming is caused primarily by human activity. But who is right? Environmentalists, a group which generally includes Democrats, argued that rising levels of atmospheric greenhouse gases are a direct result of human activities such as burning fossil fuels, and that these increases are causing significant and increasingly severe climate changes, including global warming, loss of sea ice, sea level rise, stronger storms, and more droughts. They contend that immediate international action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is necessary to prevent dire climate changes. According to their party platform, Democrats believe that climate change poses a real and urgent threat to our economy, our national security, and our children's health and futures, and that Americans deserve the jobs and security that come from becoming the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. The Democrats plan to set the U.S. on track to generate half its electricity from renewable resources within 10 years or less, as well as to install 500 million solar panels, boost energy efficiency, and support taking steps to power the government with 100% clean electricity. In terms of hydraulic fracturing or fracking, the party believes that the controversial practice should not take place where states and local communities oppose it. Development of wind, solar, and other renewable energies is prioritized over the creation of new natural gas power plants. The Democratic platform views climate change as an urgent threat and a defining challenge of our time. The party believes that America should lead the fight against climate change around the world by reducing greenhouse gas emissions more than 80% below 2005 levels by 2050 and honoring the Paris Agreement, which aims to keep global temperature increases well below 2 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. Further, Democrats want to address the negative externalities of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane by taxing them to help pay for a transition to a clean energy economy. The Democrats continue to oppose construction of the Keystone Pipeline. In contrast, Donald Trump tweeted, "The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive." A 2015 survey reported that over half of congressional Republicans dispute or deny climate science, and the Republican platform perpetuates climate denialism. Skeptics, which typically include Republicans, argue that human-generated greenhouse gas emissions are too small to substantially change the Earth's climate, and that the planet is capable of absorbing these increases. They contend that warming over the 20th century has resulted primarily from natural processes such as fluctuations in the sun's heat and ocean currents. They say that the theory of human-caused global climate changes is based on questionable measurements, faulty climate models, and misleading science. Republican Senator Ted Cruz said that climate change is a global conspiracy cooked up by liberals who want to institute massive government control of the economy, the energy sector, and every aspect of our lives. The Republican agenda includes items like building the Keystone Pipeline, canceling the Clean Power Plan, neutering the EPA and banning it from regulating carbon dioxide, outlawing a carbon tax, stopping all fracking regulations, and pulling out of the Kyoto Agreement. The divisive nature of climate change, even with 97% of scientists accepting that it is a product of human nature, In part, it's because of today's political climate. The GOP has come to rely and fear the endless campaign cash from the fossil fuel industry. Oil and gas companies know that they've all but lost the war of public opinion on truth of climate change, so instead they have focused on a single party in hopes of blocking progress. Though much of the world is focused on transitioning away from fossil fuels as a way to fight climate change, there is another often overlooked climate change culprit: animal agriculture and its environmental impact. Animal agriculture is the second largest contributor to human-made greenhouse gas emissions after fossil fuels and is a leading cause of deforestation, water and air pollution, and biodiversity loss. Animal agriculture puts a heavy strain on many of the Earth's finite land, water, and energy resources. In order to accommodate the 70 billion animals raised annually for human consumption, a third of the planet's ice-free land surface, as well as nearly 16% of global freshwater, is devoted to growing livestock. Furthermore, a third of worldwide grain production is used to feed livestock. By 2050, consumption of meat and dairy products is expected to rise 76% and 64% respectively, which will increase the resource burden from the industry. Cattle are by far the biggest source of emissions from animal agriculture, with one recent study showing that in an average American diet, beef consumption creates 1,984 pounds of CO2 annually. Replacing beef with plants would reduce that figure 96%, bringing it down to just 73 pounds of CO2. President Trump's decision to leave the Paris Agreement has spiked tensions in the ongoing political debate over climate change, and the future remains ambiguous.